In this video, I'll be discussing another massive storm that will be impacting the United States this weekend into early next week, as well as the potential for a tropical storm or low-wind hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. Let's go right on into today's video. We're going to start out here with our 500 millibar wind speeds on the GFS American model. Let's go right ahead and pull this out, and this is going to be the big storm that causes a lot of issues for the central United States. You could see this large trough ejection on the west-hand side of the United States, and it is definitely a massive storm. Very, very large trough ejection. And as we go into Monday, which I personally believe will be the highest severe weather threat out of the 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and for Monday being the greatest severe weather threat, most likely on the side of damaging winds, but a couple tornadoes will also be possible as we go into Monday. Let's go right ahead and pull on forward here, and I'll show you the next trough ejection we'll be watching as we go into late this upcoming week, as well as that tropical storm potential in the Gulf of Mexico. Before we get too far into the video, I want to show you guys the SPC outlooks. These are official outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center. This is for tomorrow. Now, at the moment, at the time of recording this, which it shouldn't change until tomorrow, we have a 5% chance for tornadoes in southwestern Texas with a large 2% surrounding that. I do think this 5% could expand more into Texas and Oklahoma. I'll say why in just a minute. But before I show you that, I want to show you guys the wind threat here. It is a 15% chance for damaging winds. And then the greatest hazard tomorrow, according to the SPC, will be the potential for 2 to 3 inch in diameter hail in that black hatched area inside the 15% chance for severe weather. Now let's look at the HRRR model run for tomorrow, Saturday, November 2nd, 2024, of course, and not really much should happen until we get into the evening hours, most likely 6 p.m. and on tomorrow evening. That's when we could see a couple supercells begin to form in southeastern New Mexico, western Texas, and this is going to be for 8 p.m. Eastern as these storms begin to move off to the northeast primarily. Damaging winds, a large hail, and a couple spin-up tornadoes will be your main hazards. And then I want to show you what happens here. This is midnight. Watch what happens at midnight. You'll see midnight, 1 a.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Eastern. We start to see the potential for this line to congeal and strengthen in portions of Oklahoma. And a couple models, including the CSU Severe Weather Outlook, hint towards an elevated tornado threat with this south and west of the OKC metro area overnight. So that's going to be the primary area I watch. Really two primary areas. This area from about 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern. And in this area from about 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern. I think those will be the two areas we focus on for tornadoes tomorrow. Here's your SPC outlook for Sunday, and you can see this very large slight risk for severe weather surrounded by a very large marginal risk for severe weather around that. Main threat with this will definitely be damaging winds and large hail, but a couple isolated tornadoes can't be ruled out on the eastern side of this slight risk for severe weather as we approach maximum daytime heating, most likely around 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. A little fuzzy on the details there due to us being more than 48 hours out, but still quite confident on a tornado threat being apparent as we go through Sunday. Before I dive on into the model data for Sunday, I ask that you guys go ahead and share this video with your family, friends, social media, as well as hit that like button if you're enjoying the video, and subscribe if you are new to the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Let's go right back on into today's video. So this is for very early Sunday morning around 3 a.m. Eastern, when we should have that leftover squall line making its way through central Oklahoma in the morning and afternoon hours. Then as we go into the evening hours, we should see a period of clearing over central Oklahoma, and that clearing is the reason why we should have greater instability and a greater tornado threat in and around the OKC metro area as we go towards about 4, 5, 6 p.m. Eastern. And then after that, this stuff congeals up into a line, and it's very messy, but still isolated large hail and damaging winds and a spin-up tornado will probably be a possibility overnight Sunday night into Monday morning. Now what looks to be the biggest day in my opinion. This is going to be for Monday, November the 4th, 2024. And you could see a very large 15% chance for severe weather that has been issued from the Storm Prediction Center. We have had some shifts in this. The trough ejection looks to be pushing a little more east than originally expected, because we were talking about Nebraska in our last live stream for the potential of severe weather Monday, but it looks like that has shifted off well off to the south and east. And I do believe we can and probably probably will eventually see an enhanced risk for severe weather over this general corridor, most likely for damaging winds, but a couple instances of very large hail and a few tornadoes will definitely be a possibility as we go into Monday. Now, our model data for Monday is definitely all over the place, so we're just going to look at one single model, the NAM model, for the entirety of these three threats for severe weather. Starting out with tomorrow, this is of course going to be your supercell composite, so your tornado ingredients, and we're just going to generally have a broad area of tornado ingredients tomorrow evening as we go into 8 p.m. Eastern, and then overnight you'll see those ingredients shift into and west of the OKC metro area, which is why I think we could see a 5% chance for tornadoes introduced there on the SPC outlook as we go into Sunday morning. And then as we go into Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening, you'll see that rapid air mass recovery most likely occur in the evening, well, I should say very late evening, early afternoon hours, and that will give us a very short window for a couple tornadoes being a possibility there in and around the OKC metro area pointing west. And then after the afternoon hours into the overnight hours, those tornado ingredients do actually increase thanks to that lower level jet. However, we should have a messy enough mode to the point where I don't think the tornado threat will be too notable overnight, but still a couple spin up tornadoes as that line pushes eastward Monday morning will be a possibility. Going into Monday afternoon, look at this. You see a very sharp cold front dry line that begins to set up here in and west of the OKC metro area. Yet again, it's really all focused in and around Oklahoma City for the next 3 days. And that allows for a much more potent environment for tornadoes to develop over the central and eastern portion of Oklahoma in the afternoon hours of Monday. Going into the evening hours, you'll see those ingredients continue to push eastward until we're going into the overnight hours out here in Missouri, Arkansas, into Texas, and then eventually those ingredients will start to decrease as we go into Tuesday morning. So I do think we could see a couple spin-up tornadoes as we go into Monday evening and Monday night. But in terms of the significance of that tornado threat, at the moment, I'm not too convinced on a significant tornado threat, and I'm not too convinced on Monday being the biggest tornado threat. I think either Sunday or Monday will be the biggest tornado threat, but there's a little more of uncertainty I think we have to work out before we figure out which day will be bigger than the other one. Just briefly, before we go into our tropical update, I want to take you over to the GFS Ensemble Mean Supercell Composite. This is how I determine if we have any severe weather threats possible over the next 240 hours or so. And you'll see here on Thursday, we do have a little bit of a signal. It's definitely not a strong signal at all, but a little signal of the potential for severe weather in generally the same area we've been looking at for the last week or so. Could see severe weather at the end of this upcoming week, so we will watch that. That will most likely be around the time frame of November 7th, so about 6 days from the time of this recording. And then after that, of course, we get too far out, so there's really not much signal after that. But we most likely will see another trough ejection enter the United States in the middle of November and probably cause severe weather for some of the exact same areas as we go towards, I don't know, around November 12th, just basing that off of how we normally see a trough every 5 or 6 days. And that's what it looks like here in November. But a lot of uncertainty, a whole lot of uncertainty in the middle of November in terms of any significant severe weather threat. Let's just get through this first system first, then we'll go through the November 7th system, and then we can go into the middle November potential for severe weather. Here's the National Hurricane Center outlook for today. Of course, November 1st at the 2 p.m. advisory. That's a key factor because obviously it's the 2 p.m. advisory. So if you're watching this a little bit later, these AOIs may have changed. This AOI at the top right-hand corner of your screen has a 40% chance of developing within the next 48 hours to 7 days. Personally, I believe it's already developed, but because it's an extratropical system and it has extratropical characteristics, it probably won't be named. But ASCAT scans do indicate that this has already formed into a tropical storm, but personally, I don't think they'll name it just because the National Hurricane Center tends to have a bias towards not naming extratropical systems, even if they have those tropical storm force wind speeds. But that could be something they end up naming in post-analysis, which is after the season is over. This other AOI out here in the Dominican Republic, Lesser Antilles, it will bring some rainfall to the far northern sides of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, northwestern Lesser Antilles, southeastern Bahamas, but it won't be the main system to form. This should move over Cuba and die out, and eventually this system here should form form into a tropical storm as it goes into the Gulf of Mexico. It currently has a 70% chance of forming in the next 7 days, and I do think it will form into a tropical storm. Key factor here, though, is we will have that trough ejection that we were talking about Monday, Tuesday. We're going to have a trough over the central U.S. That's going to cause wind shear over the Gulf of Mexico. So the likelihood of a hurricane coming out of this system is low. We could see a low in Category 1 hurricane, but anything greater than that should be near impossible unless that trough ejection speeds up and this system is slow enough to the point where our trough ejection leaves the U.S. and then our area of interest moves into the Gulf of Mexico. So there's going to be a very tight window of where this system is either going to be a tropical storm or maybe something greater than a tropical storm. So if you live out in and around the Gulf of Mexico states, I would keep a very close eye on this. There's a good chance that it will form into a tropical storm as we go into the the early and middle portion of next week. So probably between 5 to 7 days from now is when that will form into a tropical storm as it enters the Western Caribbean into the southeastern Gulf of Mexico. Now we're going to go a little fast here because I don't want this update to be too long. So we're going to go through all these model runs with hopefully no cuts. Here's your GFS model run. All of this will be 12Z data, by the way, so it may be a little old as you're watching this video because we have 18Z data coming in right now, but still going to be around the same scenarios that could happen. So the GFS model run spins this up, into a hurricane near Jamaica. By my reaction there, you could probably tell that I don't think that's going to happen. And it spins it up on November 3rd, literally 48 hours from now. It has it becoming a tropical storm, and then in 84 hours, a Category 2 hurricane. I don't think that will happen, but we'll monitor it just in case. Personally, I think it will slowly develop as opposed to rapidly develop like the GFS model run has. And then as it goes into November 6th, brings it into the Gulf of Mexico, and that trough ejection leaves the U.S., leaves a high pressure behind, and that high pressure actually steers this right into Texas, which is a very interesting scenario. However, that scenario is going to be unlikely to play out. There's a lot of different scenarios here. Let's look at the CMC model run. 12Z, of course, just like I said, looking at 12Z data only, spins up a tropical storm as we go into November 4th, November 5th, which is more realistic, and then slams it into Florida as a very weak tropical storm on November 7th, where it then goes on and out to sea. And I do want to just quickly go back to the GFS model run because it does have another tropical storm spinning up near the Bahamas. I don't think that will happen, but we'll keep an eye on that just in case, but I doubt that will happen. Going back to now our Icon model run here, this should be a very conservative, tame model run, but let's see. So very, very gradually develops this into a tropical storm on November 4th, November 5th. So it looks like about 3 to 4 days from now, we're probably going to see a tropical storm near Jamaica. Takes it over Cuba into the Gulf of Mexico as a very weak tropical storm. Most likely here, November 7th, it's no longer a tropical storm or tropical depression, and then it ends up hitting Louisiana as really just an area of disorganized rain showers. And then we have that same area of interest the GFS was talking about also appears here on your Icon model run as a potential tropical storm on November 8th or November 9th. Going into your last model run, your European model run, this is again 12Z. See what happens here. Very slowly spins it up into a tropical storm. Same time frame. November 4th, November 5th, just near or north of Jamaica. So if I'm in Jamaica, based on these model trends in the National Hurricane Center, I would keep a very close eye on this and possibly get ready to prepare for a weak, and I mean weak, tropical storm to impact you. And then, of course, same as most of our other model runs, brings it into the Gulf of Mexico as a weak tropical storm, and the European model run also disintegrates it as it goes into Louisiana as just an area of generally disorganized rain showers. So, I am starting to believe that we'll see a tropical storm in this area around November 5th. I think it will make its way into the Gulf of Mexico where it will weaken. And after it weakens, it could go into Texas, it could go into Louisiana, it could go into Florida. But regardless, I think it will be weak. Barely a tropical storm, if not even a tropical storm. So we're just going to monitor it for now, but definitely want to keep an eye on it for sure. Well, that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you did enjoy. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. Share the video with your family, friends, and on social media to help spread weather awareness. And I'll see you guys in my next video or live stream that I do. Quick reminder, I may not be live as frequently for this upcoming severe weather threat as I will be a little bit busy. Stay safe, watch severe weather in the tropics. Goodbye.